there! So today's video is going to be a get ready with me style video using the Mercier Artist Palette for Eyes. I'm going to be using the more neutral shadows in this palette to create an everyday, soft, natural eye look. So if you're interested to see how I got the look that I'm wearing today, then just keep watching. Okay, so I've already primed my lids with my Urban Decay Primer Potion, and I also prepped my skin and primed it with my Lancome Advanced Genifique. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on the eye look. I'm going to pull my hair back here real quick, get that out of my face. I hate it when my hair's in my face when I'm trying to do my makeup. I don't know about you guys, but it just drives me nuts. And then I always have these little wispies that always end up falling down on my eyes and stuff anyway. Well, that doesn't look crazy at all, now does it? Okay, well, it's functional anyway. Okay, so like I mentioned, I am using the Mercier Artist Palette for Eyes. This is the look that I've been wearing a lot lately, and it's just very neutral, very wearable, and this is sort of the version of the look that I'm doing that I feel goes with sort of everything and every outfit. Okay, so the first color I'm going to use is right here, and that is Vanilla Nuts. I'm just going to use that on both lids to just sort of even everything out and create a nice canvas. This is something I usually do with most eye looks. I just like the way it takes some of the redness out of my lids and then lets everything else sort of blend in really easily over the top. Kind of gives it a nice primed, soft surface. This is just a matte color, a really pale matte color. Okay, so that's it for that. The next color that I'm going to use is Fresco, which is right here. I'm using this as a blending or transition color in this palette, and I'm going to go back and add this also a little bit later, but I like to put down a little bit of a layer of it first. Kind of gives me a little bit of a guide. My eyes are hooded, as you can see, and a little bit droopy downwards, so I feel like if I give my transition color, I get started with that on here, it kind of helps me know where I need to keep my crease color below, if that makes sense. So I'm going back in with a little bit fluffier brush. This is a Sigma E35. Tap that off. And I'm just going to go in and put a little bit of that on the upper part of the crease, just as a guide, like I said. I've really been loving this palette. There is just such a variety of looks that you can do with it. This is a really natural, sort of neutral look that I'm doing, but you can also, I think I showed, and when I first showed the palette, my first impressions, I had like a really bright purple look on, but it was still purple in a way that I felt I was comfortable with, since I usually like really neutral looks. But I really have just been loving this palette. I'm wearing it more often than not lately. Okay, so now that's done, I'm going to put on my lid color, and for that I have been using Bamboo, which is right here. I'm using that all over the lid. Really beautiful sort of neutral color. Looks like this. Love this color. It has a little bit of shimmer to it, but it's not over the top. I am using my MAC 217 to put this color down. My brushes are kind of dirty, by the way. I realize that I have not washed them since I got back from vacation, which I should have done, but just been too busy doing other things, trying to get caught up now that we're back in town. Okay, so I'm just going to pat that all over the lid, and then work that slightly up into the crease. Really like this lid color, not just for this look, but a lot of other looks as well. And I do kind of like to pack this on a little bit. It is very light and very sheer, so I feel like I really need to build it up a little bit. And it would be very difficult to overdo with this color because it is so sheer. I'm just going to turn the brush sideways a little bit here at the outer corner and bring that up slightly. And the same thing with the other eye. Just going to pack that on. You know, I showed in my video all the makeup that I took with us on our trip, and I ended up wearing, let's see, of about the 5 full days that we were gone, I ended up using this palette 4 of the days, which I knew would happen. I should know better by now. And, you know, we were traveling by car, so that was kind of a good opportunity for me to take way more than I needed to, but I should have known better. I love this palette though. It was so versatile. You know, you think you're going to do all these makeup looks and do all these different things, but then when you get on vacation, you're so busy doing other stuff that you just kind of want to go to makeup that's reliable. And this has been a really reliable neutral look for me, so I could have just had this palette and nothing else. It's been so great. Okay, so the next color that I'm going to use here is Truffle, which is right here. Oops, right there. Okay, so, and I've been using this Truffle, just sort of outer V, but pulling it a little bit more into the crease, but keeping it on the outer third of the lids. So I'm going to go back in with a Sigma E25 for that. Just going to get this on the tip of the brush here a little bit, tap off the excess. I'm just going to put that here and slightly up into the crease. I'm going to make small circles just to kind of bring that up a little bit, but I want to stay out on this outer edge. And I am, like I said, going to go back a little bit with the Fresco again and kind of tie everything together. Okay, so just kind of keeping this over here. I've mentioned before, this Sigma brush, this particular one, is one of my favorites because I feel like it's just so versatile. It's great for, I don't know, I always travel with it. It's great for doing like a highlight up here. It's great for crease work. It's great for lid, laying down lid color. It's just a jack of all trades. Okay. Now, sometimes I just stop there as far as creating definition. I don't go any darker, but I do like to add just a little bit more punch or pizzazz in this outer corner sometimes. And for that, I like to use Espresso Bean, which is right here. I'm just going to go back with the same brush though. I'm just going to wipe that off a little bit. And I'm going to put some on the tip of the brush. And okay, so I have to lift my lid a little bit. That's something I find helps, especially when you do have hooded or droopier lids. I just go ahead and lift this up a little bit so I can make sure I get this color exactly where I want it. I don't really want to bring this up on the eyelid too much. I want to keep it down here in the outer V. But I'm just going to go right here with that and kind of blend it in just to the outer part of the crease, but I just don't want it to be too harsh. But I want it to stay down here where I want it. And I'm going to do a little bit better blending of all this here in a minute. Same thing on this side. Just bring that up a little bit just so I can place it right there. And then blend. And that just adds a little bit more definition to this. That is a very pigmented color, so you do want to go lightly with it. You can always add more later. And then I'm going to go back in with a little bit of Fresco down here, and I'm just going to use that to sort of blend these colors together a little bit. This also has a lot of pigmentation, so you don't want to put too much in your brush to begin with. Again, you can go back and build it up, but just kind of want to blend these colors right here together. And I find that sort of doing a layer of this before and after I put down a crease color gives me the best blend. So that's kind of the method I always use. The other thing that I do is when I'm working with a look like this, especially that has multiple colors, I also try to really wait to evaluate the whole eye look until I'm completely done with it and I've done my brows and the liner and everything. Because sometimes I can find when I'm doing it like this, I think, oh, it looks a little messy. I'm not really sure how I feel about it. And then once you kind of put the rest of it together with the eyeliner and your brows and everything sort of has a nice framework around it, and then to me it always looks more pulled together. I don't know if that's just me, but okay, the last color I'm going to use is right here, and that is Sparkling Dew. I'm using that as my brow bone highlight and a little bit in the inner corner. And I'm actually using the brush here that came with the Urban Decay Naked 3 palette. So it's kind of got a nice fine little tip brush here. And I'm just going to go underneath the brow with this. Lighten that up a bit. Love this color. I've been using this Sparkling Dew in other looks too, not just in this palette. Really beautiful, subtle highlight color. So some of you were asking me if I was going to vlog on my trip to Richmond, and I had sort of planned on it. And then once we left here, the day that we left, it started raining. And that big storm front was moving in, and it rained the entire 14-hour drive up there. And then it rained the whole first day that we were there out shopping and everything. So I was sort of literally like running in and out of stores and dodging rain, and it would have been a terrible, terrible vlog. So I did put up a room tour of the place that we stayed at because it was a really fun hotel room for us. So if you want to check that out on LaBeautyVlog. But I'm sorry I didn't really vlog more. And then I was with my family a lot at their house and stuff, and I didn't want to be like intrusive and asked to film there. And they had, you know, some of their friends over and things. So, but it's a wonderful, wonderful time. But anyway, I just didn't do the vlogging that I thought I would. Okay, let me go back with this. So I'm just going to blend all of this together with my big fluffy, this is a MAC 224. I had my finger over it, so I didn't know what number it was. And I'm just going to do small circles and kind of bring all this together. This is just such an easy look. It's really hard to get wrong. And again, if you don't want to do this outer V definition, you could just skip that and keep it really, really natural. I almost feel like I need a little bit more of the bamboo on my lid at this point though. So I'm going to go back in and get some of the bamboo and add a little bit more color down here. I probably really should have cleaned my brushes. That probably would have helped everything kind of keep its color, keep its own color truer. Really bad about that. Okay, now I need to go in and line my eyes, and the color that I've been using for that again is the espresso bean, the color that we used in the outer V. This is really pigmented. I like it a lot. It does have fallout, so you kind of have to be a little bit more careful with it. That's why with this particular palette and a lot of palettes that I'm going to be using an eyeshadow as a liner, I really like to do the eyes first before I do any of my face makeup because I do get some fallout. So I'm just going to use a tissue here and go in. This is my Bobbi Brown Ultra Fine eyeliner brush. I'm just going to go in with this and line my eyes. And this goes on really, really smoothly. And again, I'm kind of keeping the thickest part of the line out here on the corner of my eye since my eyes do droop downwards. And then I get really thin as I go toward the inner corner. Now, I said I was going to use a Kleenex to do this, and then I didn't. So as a side note, when we were in Richmond, Virginia, for those of you that didn't see my vlog or didn't know, I don't think I ever said we were going to Richmond. So I had my first Wawa coffee experience, and it was really, really good. I loved it, absolutely loved it. So we decided to buy some of the coffee to bring home with us. And we normally at home for every day drink half-calf coffee, and that's good enough for us. I don't like the jittery feeling of caffeine. But when I bought the Wawa coffee, I bought full calf, which is what I had today, and I feel like I could run a marathon. I am so not used to full calf coffee, and I feel like I'm just... So if this seems like a little all over the place, that's why. I feel like I have lots of energy today. Okay, so I'm just going to go finish this up. Okay, so I finished up the eye look by eyelining the top and bottom of my lids with the espresso bean, and then I did go back into the inner corners and add a little bit of sparkling dew just to lighten that up a bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and fill in my eyebrows, and for that I use my Bobbi Brown eyeshadow in Cement, and then I'm going to go back with my Clinique Superfine liner for brows in Soft Blonde and kind of fill that in a little bit. So let me find my brush here. Because my brows are so thin and they require so much filling in, I do have like a angled brush that I really enjoy using, like this, but really it takes so long to do it that way that I start off with this really big eye shader brush from Sigma. This is an E55, and I kind of fill it in and then I go back for more definition because it just takes me forever with that really fine little brush. So I'm going to go in here with this. And especially these, you know, wider areas is where I really like to fill in with this. And then the fine brush and the pencil will kind of go back in and make everything a little bit nicer and neater, but this saves me a little bit of time. So I think I am going to take my super fine liner for brows, again in soft blonde. I think I am going to go in and just fill in a little bit with these. This just gives it a little bit more definition. And I think since it has a little bit of a waxy texture, it kind of just holds everything in place a little bit on its own too. Okay. Typically now I would do my mascara, but sometimes I like to just go ahead and do my foundation first. So I think I'm going to do that, and then my mascara I will come back and do as a last step. So the foundation that I'm using currently is the Guerlain Lingerie de Peau. I received this in a sample from Sephora. This is in number 2. I can't remember if there was a name with that, but anyway, number 2 should be, you should be able to find it with that. Really, really, really love this foundation. I was thinking about doing just a review on it because I was just so surprised when I got the sample. I had had it for a while and I really didn't have any plans to use it, but I thought, well, I'll just try it and see how I like it. And I fell in love with it. So I purchased this when we had the, I don't think it was Friends and Family. I think it was the VIB sale I purchased this with. So I'm just going to pump a little bit onto the back of my hand. It is sort of liquidy, sort of thinner fluid, so it does roll around a little bit, so I have to be careful. So I like to put it on the back of my hand, and then I'm just going to dab this all over and cover up any spots that I may have. And I'm going to be using my beauty blender for this today. It works really well with this foundation. And I really only have one big problem area right here. As most of you probably know, I use Retin-A on my skin, which makes it really susceptible to like tearing. And I had a blemish come here and it was very itchy when it first came out, so I thought it was like a bug bite or something, and I was really scratching because it was so itchy. And then immediately my skin started tearing and it created sort of a small scab on my skin, which looks really terrible, really hard to cover. So if you're using Retin-A, just be aware of that. It makes that surface layer of skin very sensitive and very prone to peeling and things. Okay, so I might do another layer of this. It is buildable to a point. I also need to go back in and do my forehead. This is a really beautiful coverage though, and I think I'm going to have to fill in with some concealer down here. It never ever feels heavy on the skin. It really is like the name says. It's like lingerie for your skin. It's just beautiful. Okay, so that's about as good as I'm going to get with the foundation. So let me get some of my concealer here. I'll do underneath my eyes, and then we'll try to go back and cover up this spot a little bit. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm going to be using my MAC Studio Finish Concealer in NW20 to cover up this spot a little bit. And again, it's just so hard to cover these kinds of spots. That might be the best it's going to get for today, and that's okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is conceal my under eye area. I use the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and this is in Honey. Light 3 Honey. So this shade, I find, I love the formulation, but the shade is just a little bit too dark for me. And just when I thought I was going to have to get another color or maybe combine it with another color, I kind of came up with a solution that's worked out really well. When we were on our trip, we went to Nordstrom at the Nordstrom where we were staying there in Richmond, and I had been wanting to purchase the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, and I did. I found it when we were there, and it found that it actually sort of lightens up this concealer just enough to where it makes it the right shade for me. So I was really happy about that. So not only does it sort of perk up the eye area, but it lightens it enough to where now I feel like it's a much better match. So this is the Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder. It's just a really finely milled powder, and I actually just put a little bit on the end of this fluffy brush. This came with a gift with purchase from Lancome. I put a little bit on the end of the brush and kind of tap it to the lid and just swirl it around, because you don't need too much. This thing will last me the rest of my life, I'm sure. So then I just go and tap this in, and it sets the concealer, and again just lightens it up slightly, really slightly. And if you have more of a darker skin tone or a medium skin tone, they do have a number 2. I think this is number 1 or the original. And then there's now a number 2 version, which has just a little bit more of a yellowy tone to it. So I love it. I really don't know what I did before this. I'm really glad to have it. Okay, so now I'm just going to use some setting powder to set my foundation. And for that, I'm using my Too Faced Primed and Poreless. I'm going to go in with my Bobbi Brown powder brush, and I'm just going to put some of this through the T-zone just to set that a little bit. And across my forehead here. Don't want to mess up my brows, which I tend to do when I'm putting powder on. So that is it for that. And then because this eye look is really neutral, there's so many blushes that you can use with this. One of the ones I've really been enjoying to use is my Chanel Rose Acrylic. It looks like this. Just a really pretty neutral pink blush. I'm going to use my Sigma F50 just to go in and blend this in. This blush will go with so many looks. Really wearable. I love this. This is sort of my go-to blush color when I don't know what to wear, because it is so versatile. Okay, that's good. And so the next thing I'm going to do is curl my eyelashes and apply my mascara, and I'll come back and show you the lip color that I used. Okay, so the eye look is finished. I used the L'Oreal Voluminous Full Definition for my mascara, and now I just need to put on some lips, and then the look is done. In the photo that I showed from Instagram, I was just wearing the L'Oreal Color Riche Balm in Nourishing Nude. It looks like this. It was just a really simple look that I was wearing that day. But one of the colors that I found that I really like with this, because it's also neutral and goes with the blush, the eyes, everything, is my MAC Viva Glam 5, which, as most of you probably know, is a really nice neutral lip color. So I'm just going to pop that on. And I don't necessarily wear a lip liner with this, usually. So this is the completed look using the Laura Mercier Artist Palette for Eyes, a Chanel blush, and the MAC Viva Glam 5 lipstick. As always, I will put a listing of all of the products that I used for this tutorial on my blog, and I will put a link to that down below. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.